Hello, I'm Levi Pinfold and I'm the illustrator of The Last Fair by Hannah Gold. I first got involved in this project when I was sent the manuscript, and I loved it. I thought it was exactly the type of thing I'd like to read to my daughter when she's old enough. So it's got all of the things I think we'll be keen to explore in years to come. So, you know, it's got a wonderful sort of message behind it, a wonderful sort of environmental message. You know, it's got a lovely exploration of a relationship between a father and a daughter, and it's got so much to it. I think Hannah's written something that's feels very believable. The relationships feel very believable, but it's also fantastical. It's also this wonderful journey into a place which actually exists and is very, very, sort of very magical setting. Certainly for me, I've got a bit of a thing for remote, isolated landscapes, and I was very excited about exploring that side of things. So as well, it's got a really touching exploration of a relationship between a person and an animal, in this case a wonderful polar bear. And I thought that was a very well-drawn relationship, and it's got all of these lovely elements all sort of packed in. So yeah, it was a pleasure to read and very much a pleasure to illustrate as well. So without further ado, I'm going to introduce you to some of my working methods and some of the techniques I used to illustrate this book. So we start out with a very rough. This is all done digitally on a tablet with a stylus. This is the scene where April and her dad discover the cabins they're going to be staying in for the first time. And the description is that they're two Norwegian-style cabins. The smaller one for living in, the larger one for scientific research. And off to the side, I think Hannah says that off to the side there's a squat generator, something like that, and it's the only thing that ruins the perfect fairy tale sort of feeling that these two cabins give, so that's in there too. In the background I've got a couple of mountains from Bear Island, but those ones didn't quite fit with the layout that we had. So after I'd sent this off and shared it, we decided to make the mountains a little bit smaller to fit a bit better with the text. And actually this worked out really well, because I think these mountains look a lot more like the pictures that I've seen of Bear Island floating around on the internet, a bit lower, you know, a bit less sort of craggy. And so once a final rough is decided on, we go through to final. And the way I do this is I'm working digitally, so I'll lay a sheet of digital tracing paper almost over the rough. And then I'll draw from this very faint image. So the first step is to get some texture in there. This is scanned in charcoal, so I'll make a big mess with charcoal and scan some of that in. And then I'll add in some darks, again with some scanned in texture. Even more darks, you know, just to add a bit of depth. And then we start the drawing. And this is sort of more tonal work at the moment, so we'll just add in where the snow is. Snow is really easy because it's nice and white, so you know what tone that's going to be. And basically you just start getting the basic shapes in, a little bit more texture, and then it's time for a bit of detail. So I put in here the highlights for the snow on the mountains. That starts to create more of a immersive scene. Then you can start to sort of feel yourself sort of sinking into the picture, it becoming more of a real space. Then it's the background of the cabins, just to block out the mountains there. A little bit of knock back on the mountains because they were a bit too prominent. Then some texture on the cabins, the generator, and then a bit of actual drawing just to create this sort of wooden, vertical wooden panelling that they have on the Norwegian cabins. A bit more texture, a bit more tone. And then, a bit of texture on the snow there down the front, just to start the process of making it look like an actual snowdrift. A bit more work on the sky there. That's just to give a bit of depth to the sky and make it look a bit more like a lowering, overcast, snowy sky. And there we have April and her dad appearing. A bit more detail on them and a few more highlights just to give them some depth. Now a good bit, I always really enjoy this bit, putting the windows on. I think this gives it a real Norwegian feeling in this particular instance. And then the tracks left by the sleigh that April's dad's pulling there. I think this is quite an exciting sort of shape. It really leads your eye into the picture. And then just a bit of snowfall. I always think this makes it look a bit more fairy tale-esque when you've got a few flecks of snow drifting around. Gives it a bit more atmosphere. And then basically it's just sort of refining everything and making it look a bit more lived in. And so we add some final highlights in, and there we have, after the chimney is in, the final picture. And there you have it. I hope you enjoy your time with this book as much as I did. Thanks very much.